So this is my bench grinder. I usually store it on the floor in front of some tools, and then when I need it I just put it on my bench. This solution isn't the greatest because if there's things on your bench you have to clear them off first, and although it works okay, I'd much rather have a purpose-built bench grinder stand. So I looked on the internet and found on Pinterest a design that I'm going to sort of adapt. This piece here is 200mm wide at the top, 350mm wide at the bottom. So once I was happy with the design I was going to use, I could then lay it on top of the plywood. I drew around it so I would have an exact copy for the other side. To cut everything out, I'm going to use the Evolution R185cc SX Plus track saw. This is the track saw Evolution sent me, and there'll be a review of this saw coming up in the future. Because the sides will be tilted in, you need to tilt the blade on the saw to 7 degrees. Then you need to cut this 7 degrees into the bottom and the top of the side pieces. This will mean that the feet can sit flush on the floor, and when I put the very top piece on, it will sit flat on the top of the side pieces. Next I could move over to my new Triton pocket hole jig that I purchased at Maker Central, and this is going to be the middle piece, and I drilled 2 sets of pocket holes about a third away from the top and a third away from the bottom, and I drilled 2 single pocket holes in the very top of this piece so that I could screw the top piece into. I found using this pocket hole jig with the clamp far more easier than my Craig miniature pocket hole jig that I have. Then I could cut the bottom curve piece out of the 2 side pieces. To create this curve, I just drew around a dinner plate. I didn't cut right up to the line. As you'll see in a minute, I came back with a flush trim bit and used the other side piece as a template to trim this one too. However, I was a little bit too precautious not to go near the line, as I had to remove quite a bit of material in a few passes. But it did leave a nice, smooth and flush finish. Then on this side piece, I marked a line 60mm in from the top. This line is going to be where I'm going to line up the middle piece with, using my speed square. So I placed the back edge of the middle piece up against the line, and then using the speed square I ensured that it was straight, before firing in more pocket hole screws to hold everything into place. Then with the top piece previously cut off camera, and with a round over bit fitted in my router, I used it to round over the top edges of the top piece. Now the top piece is going to have an overhang by 15mm, so to ensure that I did get the correct 15mm gap, first of all I put the side piece that I hadn't attached yet on the workbench, then placed the other side piece with the middle bit attached to it on top. I checked it was square first before securing it into position. Now I could move on to fit in the other side piece. I flipped it up on his end, and I loosely clamped each side into position, and then with the tape measure checked that it was in the right position, made a few adjustments, and then double checked it was right. I could then come back with my pocket hole screws and fix that into position. Not forgetting to secure it to the top. Now moving back out to the garage, the last thing to fit was this shelf. I clamped that into position, and there are already 2 sets of pocket holes drilled underneath. However, I didn't think about the gap. I couldn't fit my impact driver with the pocket hole bit on the end into the gap, so I instead used just normal posi drive screws. Now with the shelf fitted into position, so I can fit my left and right bench grinder accessory extensions. Then all that was left to do was to put the bench grinder on top, and I'll secure it into position properly at another time. And that was it, the build was complete. As you can see here, I have a stand that's at a nice usable work height that isn't too big and doesn't stick out too far. It has a shelf for extra storage, and in the compartment below I'll probably attach some bolts coming through the back so that I can then slide over the different wheels and buffing cloths I have that fit this grinder. There's links in the description box below to the items I've used in this video, and I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, please comment below, and please subscribe to my channel for future woodworking videos. I'll see you again next week.